Welcome back. I've spoken to you before about the search for God and how sometimes God is found in the unexpected, in the surprise. And today I want to just talk about barriers. Sometimes we find God in the unexpected, but we have to go through a barrier first. We have many barriers or roadblocks in terms of finding God sometimes. And again, it's going to ask us to be very brave. And I just want to explain a few roadblocks that have occurred in my life. And I hope by sharing that experience, we can understand that we too have roadblocks, but God is with us through it all. Okay. Um, I experienced this certainly when I went through the canon law degree program. It was only after 1983, when the Code of Canon Law took effect, that women were actually allowed in the canon law degree program. Apparently, before 1983, women just were not smart enough for a canon law degree. It was during this time that I no longer had to wonder what it felt like to feel or be invisible. In the class that I was in, which was in 1986, there were 5 women and 25 clergy in the canon law class that I attended. And this was only the second or maybe the third year where women were actually allowed in the program. I always felt that I had to prove something. And most of the professors would state when teaching what was considered new material, they would say, I don't have to go over this with you because you already learned it in the seminary. I wanted to yell out, no, we didn't learn it in the seminary because we were not allowed in the seminary. But again, we were invisible. Unfortunately, this came to another incredible high in my second year of the canon law degree program when I suffered an inflammation of the optic nerve, which was caused by incessant grinding of teeth. The incessant grinding of teeth was brought about because of tension in nerves. The solution was to wear a patch over my eye because I had double vision because of the incessant grinding of teeth, which caused inflammation of the optic nerve. Then I had to wear a retainer in my mouth because of the incessant grinding of teeth, which caused the inflammation. Then, rushing off to class one day, wouldn't you know, I fell backwards down a flight of marble stairs and I dislocated my shoulder. So there I was, going to class with a retainer in my mouth, a patch over my eye, and my arm in a sling. Needless to say, however, I didn't feel invisible then. I remember my first conference at a convocation at the diocesan tribunal where I worked at that time. I found myself sitting at a round table filled with priests, and no one spoke to me. I didn't know anyone. I was new there. I didn't know anyone, and no one introduced themselves to me or even asked my name. I kind of wanted to scream out, hello, I'm here. But instead, I sat there silently wondering if something was hanging out that maybe shouldn't be. So I ran to the bathroom quickly to look at the mirror to see if something was maybe hanging out from a tooth or hanging or coming out of my ear. But no, I looked okay, and that only confused me even more. Again, I felt invisible. I also remembered my second year in the diocesan tribunal there, and the second priest gathering. The attendance at the party consisted actually of the direct staff of the tribunal and 25 priests from around the diocese. I was only one of 3 women present at that gathering. I remember walking myself to the bar to get a strong drink in order to calm my nerves, but no one spoke to me, and I was really, really tempted to just go home. However, I tried to convince myself to get up enough courage to break into any of the closed circles and introduce myself, since no one was inviting me into their circle. I kept saying to myself, I can do this, I can do this. I can conquer invisibility. Finally, I saw a priest approaching me and I felt relieved. Wow, someone is actually going to talk to me and maybe welcome me into a group. At last. However, once he approached me, he didn't introduce himself to me, but he simply took 2 of his fingers, pressed them on the sleeve of my pinstripe suit. He looked up at me and then said, you know, the closer the stripe, the more expensive the suit. Then he walked away. Then I have to tell you, I left the party. I also remembered an experience I had 5 years after receiving my canon law degree, and after having worked in a canonical position there for 5 years. I was sitting having lunch with a priest who was just beginning his canon law degree program, and he was home during spring break. Another priest came over to sit at the table with us, and he said to the priest, "Father, I have a canonical question that I hope you can answer for me." And then he looked over at me and he said, "And honey, you can listen in if you want." And guess what? Honey knew the answer to the question. Father did not. These are just some examples of barriers that might seem hard or harsh to handle. They were for me at that time. And breaking down the barriers was not easy. And there are all kinds of barriers that we all find ourselves up against, like the barriers of inequality or discrimination or lack of confidence, the barriers of fear or anxiety. But let us remember that God does not give up on us, and we cannot give up on God. We are not invisible to God. So be courageous. Love conquers all fear. And remember, we are not and we never will be invisible to God. Thank you.